So now we want to start thinking about the idea that you want to be working on, that you want to develop into a product or service. This can be a super exciting time for some people, but can also be a time where some people get a little bit anxious. And that can be because how do we know if an idea is good? How do we know if an idea is bad? What's the right idea? Those kind of thoughts and things start to creep in and maybe freeze us a little bit. So what we've done is developed a worksheet here and a process where you can go through and think about who you are, think about the things you're interested in, the people and creatures that you're interested in helping, and you can identify an idea for a product or service that's meaningful to you, something that matters to you, something that you understand, but also something that from the customer's point of view solves a meaningful problem for them. So a few steps here. First and foremost, we want to start thinking about who are we? So what groups of people do you currently or did you once belong to? And this can be anything at all. For instance here, it could be a rock climber, I used to work at Subway, a vegetarian, a gamer, right? So I'm into gaming, a Buddhist, a anime fan, student council member, was a member of the swim team, let's say, a dog owner, a sibling, a college student. Okay, so these are groups of people that, again, currently we do, or at one point in time we did belong to, because these are people that we're going to understand on some level. Next, we want to think about, are there certain populations of people that we're interested in helping? And let's say we want to help sort of newer rock climbers. Maybe we want to help college freshmen, maybe the homeless, and maybe dog owners. So again, this is not necessarily people that we understand or anything, but these are groups that we would be passionate about helping, things that we could see ourselves really contributing to. And so next then we want to go in, oh, wrong way. We want to go in here and we want to think about, okay, what are the 3 groups out of those we just listed that we're most excited to help? And for instance here it could be rock climbers, college students, and let's say dog owners. Okay, so then we want to start thinking about the emotions that these groups of people experience, right? And by identifying these emotions, we can then try and start to create more powerful solutions and products and services that they're going to be much more interested in engaging with and purchasing, because it's linked into some of these emotions that they experience. So let's say rock climbers, what are they most afraid of? Not sure if I'm doing it right. What's most frustrating to them? If the gyms are too busy when they want to go to the gym. Let's say, what are they bored by? We're not quite sure, so we'll skip that one. Hard to find time when friends can go with me is something that's discouraging. They want to participate in this activity sort of with other people. It's not just a kind of solo solitary thing. What overwhelms them? Taking all their gear with them when they leave the house, right? So they got to bring a lot of stuff with them, a lot of bits and pieces, and it's overwhelming to remember to get it all. And then lastly, what does this segment really love? Well, sharing new tricks with friends is something that really makes them happy and really encourages them to continue with this activity, right? So again, we do the same thing over here, college students. Thinking about what do they do after college is something that's very sparks a lot of fear in them, something that frustrates them, when they get sick and the campus health clinic is too far away, so they're in their dorm room or something, and the health clinic is on the other side of campus, and the wait times are just too long. That's something that can be really frustrating for them. So they get bored by textbooks. Let's say something that discourages them is when they miss courses, having to schedule all that kind of stuff. What's overwhelming to a college student is time management. How do you fit it all in and do all the things you got to do? And what do they really love? Is going out at night with the friends and the social aspect of that. And then so last is dog owners. Thing that they're most afraid of is losing the dog, if it runs away. And then also in terms of the frustration, constantly having to remove dog's hairs from the floor, kind of cleaning up after the dog. It's constant just frustration and headache. What gets boring to them is having to just consistently treat their dog for fleas during the summertime. What's most discouraging to them is, dogs need to walk, but it's raining outside and they got to go out and get all the stuff on, get wet, take their dog for a walk in the rain. What's overwhelming is organizing the daily life around taking the dog out for a walk every day. Again, having to do that every day, day in, day out, can just be overwhelming. And at the end of the day, what do dog owners most love? Well, taking their dog to the park, playing with the dog, seeing the dog play with others, that kind of a thing is one of the things that's most ideal about being a dog owner. So we fill all that out. Now we have an understanding. We have some sort of guesses and some thoughts about the emotional experience of each of these segments. Excuse me. And then what we want to do is we want to come in here and circle the two that you think are the most intense emotions for your customers. Only from rows 1 through 5. We want to skip the what do we love components here, because what we need to do is solve problems for customers, and we solve those problems by addressing some of those negative emotions, the fear and the frustration and the boredom and the discouragement and the overwhelmingness. And so circle the two that you think are the most intense for your customers. For us, it would ideally be for college students. What do they do after college? That's a very intense fear that most college students will have. And then also finding the time to go to the climbing gym when friends can come with me. Again, it's a very discouraging thing if they have to go by themselves, or that kind of a thing. And then also then you want to put a star next to the two that you personally are most excited about solving. So if you had to spend time working on a solution for one of these things, what might be the most exciting thing for you to work on, both in terms of the customer and coming up with a solution that addresses that negative emotion. And so let's say for this one here, it's that I'm sick. When college students get sick and campus health center is too far away, wait times are too long, it's a really frustrating thing. I think if I could come up with a solution to that, that'd be a really cool thing. I'd be really kind of passionate and interested about doing that. And then the other one is when the dog, the fear of dog owners losing their dog when it runs away can be the other emotion that you're most excited about solving for customers. Okay, so then you'll have 4 of those things, and then what we want to do next is address be able to assess those pairs of the customer segment and the related emotions. So let's say that we have rock climbers are discouraged. Here we have, and the 2 that you circled and the 2 that you starred come over here. College students are afraid about a health clinic. or about what do they do after college. Here we have college students are frustrated about the health clinic situation. And then the last one here is that dog owners are afraid about losing their dog, right? And then what we want to do here is come in and again, we just sort of ballpark the size, the intensity, and the passion of that segment and emotion combination. And so in terms of size, we're looking at how many people, potential customers, do we realistically think we could get in a year? And so it's either a 1 or 2 or a 3, depending on how many we think we could get. We think here we could get between 100 and 1,000 for the rock climbers. Here we think we could get between more than 1,000 for college students. It's a much bigger population that we have a little more access to. Again, college students are a much bigger population that we have much more access to. And then here, let's say that we think there's 0 to 100. Okay. The intensity then, how much do we think that customer would pay to satisfy that particular feeling? And again, this is a ballpark here. So if we were able to address rock climbers' discouragement, I think that they'd be willing to pay somewhere between $10 and $1,000. If we were able to address the fear that college students have, again, we think between 10 and $1,000. Same thing here, between 10 and $1,000 for addressing college students' frustration with the clinics, and then between 10 and $1,000 for dog owners who are afraid of losing their dogs. Then we come down to the passion. Thinking about us personally, how many years do we think that we would be excited to actually serve these people and help them solve this problem and eliminate or address this negative emotion? So if it's short term, 0 to 3 years, that's a 1. If it's much longer, 3 to 10 years, a 2. And if we could just see ourselves doing this for a long, long, long time, then that could be a 3, right? And so again here, we think that if we were dealing with the rock climbers getting discouraged going to the gyms, maybe 0 to 3 years for the college student demographic, and them being afraid of what do they do after college. Again, maybe 0 to 3 years. We were a little more excited about college students who get frustrated around the campus clinic, and then maybe it's 10 or more years because we really dig helping with dog owners and that kind of thing. Then we just total them up. You just add them up. So we have 5 here. We have 6 here. I'm sorry, we don't total them. We multiply them. So we've got 4 here, and we want to multiply them. Again, we have 6 here. Here we have 12, and here we have 6. And so the other thing we want to think about, if you come up with a tie here, so we have the college students afraid and the dog owners are afraid at 6s, we want to be able to differentiate those. So we come back here and we look at these two and we see, are there any sort of adjustments we can make or anything that we think might be kind of in the middle, right? And here maybe we might look at it and say, well, we're thinking we could get 0 to 100, but maybe we were also waffling thinking maybe we could get more than 100. And so what we can do is we can turn this into more of a 1.5 because we're hedging a little closer to the 100 to 1,000 category. We feel confident that. And so if we do that, then we multiply it up and we get a 9. And so we have sort of a ranking of the size, the intensity, and the passion of addressing these, right? And then what we do here is we want to pick the 2 with the highest number. And so that's why if you come up with a tie, you want to go through and sort of tweak a little bit and think about, is there one of these that you might want to shift closer to the next number or shift down from that number to the next smallest number so that you can differentiate between 2 that were the same. So in this one, our first one here is the college students getting frustrated. Second one here is the dog owners getting afraid. And so we fill in here with the first customer segment, the ideal customers is going to be the one that has the greatest number down here. So that's the college students being frustrated. And so we fill this in, and we have sick college students who feel irritated, right? So what emotion are they feeling? They feel irritated. Why are they irritated? What is it that triggers that feeling in them when they're sick in their dorm room? Why do they feel that trigger? What is it that really is at the core of that trigger? Because again, the campus health center is too far away, and the wait times are too long. And basically, what I want to do is help them feel comfortable, right? So I want them to feel like when they're sick, they have better access to quicker, closer healthcare, and that would make them feel comfortable, right? Here we go to the backup one. So again, we go to the second number, the second largest number up here. That's where the dog owners are afraid about losing their dog. And here we want to think about who the customer is. Again, it's dog owners. They feel afraid. When do they feel afraid, or what is it that triggers that fear in them? Well, when their dogs run away is the event, the one thing that could trigger that fear in them. Um, they feel afraid because they could lose their dog, right? So what is it that causes them to feel afraid? It's not that the dog runs away, but at the core of it, underneath that, is the fear that they could lose their dogs. And basically what, in this case, what we would want to help them feel is confident. They want to feel confident that they're not going to lose their dogs are not going to run away, that kind of thing, right? So what we have now at the end of this is we have two customer segments in priority. This is the one that we're going to be most sort of excited and has the most potential for us to pursue. And we have a backup customer segment and problem here that we want to pursue. And so now we have much less anxiety about, is this a good idea? Should I pursue this idea? Am I going to get excited about this idea? Because we've gone through this exercise and we've started to answer some of those questions, and we are now able to target and work on an idea that's interesting to us, that's meaningful to us, that's exciting to us, and that we think has a reasonable population of people who experience this problem that we could gain access to. So now we have a much better platform from which to launch in building out an idea and finding and talking to customers who experience this idea, who are looking for solutions to the idea.